This is the College Algebra Lesson 7 preview exercises. Number 1, solve the following absolute value equation. The absolute value of x equals 4. So we don't have to do any symbolic manipulation to answer this question. We just think, what could you put in for x so that when you take the absolute value of it, you get 4? So numbers whose absolute value are 4 would be 4, right? The absolute value of 4 is 4. And then another solution would be negative 4. The absolute value of negative 4 is also 4, right? So we can check. The absolute value of 4 equals 4, check. The absolute value of negative 4 equals 4, check. 2 solutions to an absolute value equation. Number 2, determine if the following statement is true or false. If the statement is false, make changes to produce a true statement. So the square root of x squared equals x for all real numbers x. We often say this as a shortcut, but this is actually only true for positive numbers, right? So for example, the square root of 2 squared is the square root of 4, which is 2. So it looks like the square root and the squared just canceled, right? And we ended up with, instead of the square root of 2 squared, you just get 2. And if I did it with another positive number, for example, the square root of 3 squared, you tempted to just say square rooting a square, they undo each other, and we write it out, you get the square root of 9, which gives you the 3 back. However, if x, so this was the case where x is 2, this one's the case where x is 3, but if I look at x equals negative 2, for example, if I take the square root of negative 2 squared, it's very tempting to think that the square root and the square cancels, just like what this statement says. But if we do it out, when you square negative 2, you get positive 4, because negative 2 squared means negative 2 times negative 2. So this is the square root of 4, which is 2. So I put a negative 2 in, but it did not, when I square rooted the square of it, I did not get the negative 2 back. I got positive 2. And then if I do the same thing with negative 3, I would say, well, the square root of negative 3 squared. Again, tempting to say that that would be negative 3 because the square root will cancel with the square. But when you do the arithmetic following the order of operations, you square the negative 3, you get 9. The square root of 9 is 3. Okay, so this statement is false. And if I wanted to make it true, it would say that the square root of x squared is the absolute value of x. Okay, you always get a positive. If you plug in a positive number, you get it back. If you plug in a negative number, you get the positive number back. That's what absolute value does.